Good morning, everyone. Buenos días. Bienvenidos y bienvenidas. Welcome to the Reforma LA Spanish Language Book Fair. I'm Cynthia Bautista. I'm the Senior Librarian for Youth and Family Services Department at the Long Beach Public Library, and I'm also the President of LA Chapter Reforma. Thank you all for joining us today. And before we begin, I wanted to say thank you to everyone who made this event possible. The Book Fair Committee chairs, Patty Valdovinos and Sheridan Casares, and to Edwin Rodarte for his technical support, and to all the vendors who are part of today's program. This free event is open to librarians, educators, students, and professionals interested in serving Latino and Spanish-speaking communities. Reforma Book Fair attendees will have the opportunity to win one of 2 Spanish book bundles for their collection, each valued at $150. The winners will be randomly selected on March 16th. To enter the raffle, click the link we'll put in the chat. In this session, we have Penguin Random House Grupo Editorial, Lectorum Publications, Cinco Books, and Spanish publishers who will be featuring their new adult Spanish language titles. But first, I would like to introduce my colleagues, Luisa Leija and Sheridan Casares.
Hello, everyone. My name is Luisa Leija, and I'm the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Senior Librarian at the Long Beach Public Library, as well as the Secretary of the Reforma LA chapter.
Saludos a todos y todas. I'm Sheridan Casares, and I'm the Early Literacy Specialist at the Long Beach Public Library, as well as the co-chair of the Book Fair Planning Committee for the Reforma LA chapter with my colleague, Patty Valdovinos.
And now we will start with the book presentations. All slides and order sheets are available on our website, reformala.org/blog/bookfair. And I believe the link is popped in the chat below for you to download and take notes. Our first presenters are Veronica Cervera from Penguin Random House Grupo Editorial. Penguin Random House is a corporate member of Reforma. For more information about this company and contact information, please visit reformala.org. That link that I mentioned and is put in the chat. And remember to use our hashtag Reforma LA Book Fair. All links and contact information will be added to the chat. Please feel free to add your questions to the chat during the presentation. We love a very active chat, and they'll be answered at the end. These presentations are being recorded for future viewing. And without further ado, welcome, Veronica.
Hi, from those that don't know me, my name is Veronica. I'm a senior sales rep for Penguin Random House Grupo Editorial. We are a subsidiary of Penguin Random House with offices in Miami. We are owners of a catalog of renowned Hispanic authors in the US, as well as bestsellers in translation by award-winning authors. And we have under our umbrella a team of native Hispanic-speaking group of 29 people with an extensive knowledge of what Spanish readers are looking for in the US today. We have a catalog that includes fiction, nonfiction, and reference titles. Every month, we publish around 100 new releases, of which 30% are children's books. We're just presenting adults today. We have libraries curating collections by request. Even you don't buy directly from us, you buy from distributors. And we also develop bilingual lesson plans for children's books, just in case you're looking for, and some reading guides for adult books. I will move myself here because I need to look at the presentation, and I'm stopping my video now. Just let me know when you see.
We can see, Veronica. Thank you.
The presentation. Thank you. You have all the information of who we are and everything on the web. And we're starting with biography and autobiography. The first book is by Julia Navarro, one of the biggest authors of historical fiction in Spain. She's very popular in the US as well. but this is her first book of nonfiction, a mix between El infinito en un junco by Irene. El infinito en un junco and Mujeres del alma mía. It puts together biographies of women since the beginning of time, from goddesses to queens, from courtesans to scientists, from actresses to saints, from writers to politicians. We cannot tell these women's stories without taking men into account, given that since the dawn of time, the life of men and women has been interwoven. This book is not only the history of women, but of all, not told through male supremacy, but from common ground. Let's see some cookbooks now. The first one is on Korean food, which is quickly becoming the biggest trend in the culinary world today and is very popular in California. This is an inspired guide to bring in these delicious and healthy cuisines to our tables. It includes more than 100 authentic recipes to learn the ingredients and master the techniques of Korean cooking. It provides context and history of each of the recipes. It is an authentic Bible of Korean cuisine. Jordan Burger, the author, was named the winner of the K-Food Festival, a competition for the UK's best Korean chef. The book is has the same cover in English and was the winner of the Observer Food Monthly Best New Cookbook Award. On the chapters, we have rice and savory porridge, soups and stews, vegetable pickles and sides, pancakes, fritters and tofu, noodles, fish, meats, and desserts. More on Asian food, we have this on vegetarian Japanese cooking. The author is from Germany and he lived there, but he was living in Japan for a while. Japanese food is also very popular in your community and vegetarian food is trendy in these times. This book has 80 green Japanese recipes, all light and tasty, like ramen, miso, sushi, yakitori, barbecue, sweets, and much more. It also has a chapter of the most essential ingredients that you should always keep in the pantry, as well as their homemade alternative. Also contains a section with recipes to prepare flavor enhancers such as tare, which is the base of ramen, and teriyaki sauce. Uno, by Jimmy Oliver. He doesn't need a lot of presentation. Like every year, he's giving us a new gorgeous cookbook with more than 100 recipes, all with beautiful pictures. In this case, the recipes are all one pan, one tray, one container, a tendency that has been growing in the last couple of years. What's better, each recipe has just 8 ingredients or fewer, meaning minimal prep, and of course, cleaning up and offering maximum convenience. Some of the chapters are Veggie Delights, Celebrating Chicken, Frying Pan Pasta, and Batch Cooking. And the last cookbook is for pasta. I don't know if you have heard of Pasta Grannies. This is a popular YouTube channel that has more than 500,000 subscribers. This is the most comprehensive documentary book on pasta, one of the most liked and comforting foods of the world. It's a winner of the James Beard Award for single subject, and it includes a step-by-step recipes with pictures so we can all learn to cook like an Nona. On finances, we have this book by Kumiko Love. She gives us the tools to align our emotional health with our financial health on this book. Designing a realistic financial plan without giving up the life we want. It is a practical and simple method based on the author's experience dealing with her debts and expenses as a recently divorced single woman. The author has a close and fun tone that has conquered millions of women around the world. She has 220,000 subscribers on YouTube, 700,000 of followers on Instagram, and 1.5 million followers on YouTube. Books on finances are always very appreciated by our communities, and not all of them are written from a woman's perspective. Magic, astrology, numerology has been trending on social media in the last couple of years. The author of this book, Maria Jose Viana, known online as Agua de Valencia, is a young Catalan witch who gives advice on witchcraft and white magic for everyday life. She has more than 250,000 followers on TikTok, where she uploads daily posts with curiosities about witchcraft and its application to our life. I'm sorry. Her podcast about esotericism is on the top positions on Spotify. This is a careful and full color edition with a striking and modern design, ideal to learn at the same time we enjoy ourselves. Self-help is also a very popular subject these days, and people are looking for a lot on this new book, Las 8 Reglas del Amor, 8 Rules of Love. May sound familiar, it's on the best-selling updone fiction in English already. Nobody sits us down and teaches how to love. So we're often thrown into relationships without knowing, but romance movies and pop cultures to help us muddle through until now. Jay Shetty, author of the popular podcast On Purpose and bestselling author of Think Like a Monk, Piensa como un monje, has created this revelatory guide to every stage of romance, drawing on both ancient wisdom and new science. I'm sorry. Living by these 8 rules, we can love ourselves, our partner, our friends, and the world better than we ever saw possible. This one is also in English with the same cover. It's already on the best-selling list of the New York Times. John Pueblo is one of the new and most powerful voices in personal growth today. Very well known for his New York Times bestsellers, Clarity and Connection and Inward. He was born in Ecuador and lived in the US. This is a book to expand self-awareness, to learn to take responsibility for ourselves, and it is the beginning of a healing journey, thanks to which we will be able to undertake actions focused on health and harmony. It's perfect for people interested in meditation and Buddhism, reader of authors such as Nicole LaPera, Jay Shetty, and Deepak Chopra, as well as for the 2 million Instagram audience that the author has, and more than 120,000 subscribers to his newsletter. On parenting, we have Empantallados. The authors of this book are the creators of Empantallados.com, a platform created to help parents educate their children in technology and the digital world. This is the platform of reference in the field of digital education for the Hispanic-speaking world. Screens not only affect aspects related to security, but also to your children's personality, sociability, and creativity. But technology is here to stay, so we definitely have to deal with, and it's better to use it as a tool for education. This is a complete manual to take care of digital health and educate our children in the responsible use of technology. It has an attractive design with infographics and color illustrations, and goes through the different moments of childhood and the most frequently asked questions. We have some graphic novels. You have been asking a lot for it. The first one is the long-awaited graphic adaptations of Elena Ferrante's acclaimed novel that captivated more than 20 million readers and inspired the HBO series already on its third season. And we have this is manga, actually, not graphic novel. It's a new collector's edition of a classic that cannot be missing in our shelving. We all remember Old Boy, the film from 2003 that is already a classic that was directed by Spike Lee. Fans were asking for this book. It's coming in 2 volumes. This is the first one, and is a very careful and faithful addition to the original. Now we have some fiction bestsellers in translation. I'm sure you know this one is a New York Times bestseller, Goodreads Choice Award winner, best book of Vanessa novel from the last year, Good Morning America Book Club pick, and soon to be at Apple TV, starring Academy Award winner Brie Larson. Is also on the 100 notable books of 2022 according to the New York Times, and a best book for a lot of publications like the Washington Post, NPR, Newsweek, etc. It's recommended for all your patrons and especially readers of books like Where You Go Bernadette, Lost and One, The Rosie Project, fans of series like Marvelous Miss Maisel and The Big Bang Theory. So we should all meet Elizabeth Sott. This is the unapologetic and inspired main character of this book, and a scientist in California's 1960s, whose career takes a detour when she becomes the unlikely star of a beloved TV cooking show. This is an irresistible novel, as original and vibrant as its protagonist. The new book by Kay Morton, New York bestselling author of The Clockmaker's Daughter, Homecoming, De Vuelta a Casa. This is a novel that begins with a shocking crime, the effects of which echo across continents and generations. She's huge in English and is very popular in Latin America and Spain, and also in Spanish in the US. This is an epic novel that spans generations. Homecoming asks what we will do for those we love and how we protect the lies we tell. It explores the power of motherhood, the corrosive effects of tightly held secrets, and the healing nature of truth. I'm sure you know this one too, like that Del Vicio, Age of Vice, equals part crime, thriller, and family saga, transporting readers from the dusty villages of Uttar Pradesh to the urban energy of New Delhi. Age of Vice is an intoxicating novel of gangsters and lovers, false friendships, forbidden romance, and the consequences of corruption. It is a first of a trilogy, and its rights has been sold for a TV series already, and is an instant New York Times best-selling book. Its commercial audience is spanning from Mario Puzo's The Godfather to Stay Larson, The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo franchise, to Arvind Adiga, The White Tiger. Another New York Times bestselling book here, and one of the best books of Vanessa novel for 2022, A Library Reads Pick, an Indie Next Beat, and a Goodreads Best Fantasy Choice Award nominee. This is a sensation from Book Talk that started as a self-published book, a book that should be for sure in your shelves, and it has reviews like a wholesome, cozy novel that feels like a warm hug. It's a special escapism novel, a story about following your dreams, even when they take you away from who you thought you had to be. On literary fiction, we have El Pasajero, Estela Maris by Cormac McCarthy. While in English, this work was published in 2 separate books, they are in the same volume in Spanish. It's a New York Times bestselling title and is on the New York Times Best Book of the Year list, long listed for the 2023 Andrew Carnegie Medal for Excellence in Fiction. The Passenger is a fast-paced of a sprawling novel, while Estela Maris is tightly controlled coda, told entirely in dialogue. Together, they relate the thrilling story of a brother and sister haunted by loss, pursued by conspiracy, and longing for a death they cannot reconcile with. The author is considered to be one of the best living American authors. In addition to the Pulitzer Prize, his work has been honored with the National Book Award, the National Critics Circle Award, and also an Academy Award. Some of his books has been like 3 of his books are already made into movies, and this one looks like also will be. The new book by Salman Rushdie, Victory City, Ciudad Victoria. After publishing several contemporary satires, Rushdie is returning to magical realism, the hallmark of some of his most beloved books. The epic tale of a woman who breathed a fantastical empire into existence, only to be consumed by it over the centuries. Brilliantly styled as a translation of an ancient epic, Victory City is a saga of love, adventure, and myth that is in itself a testament to the power of storytelling. The new book by Isabel Allende will be out on June 6. El viento conoce mi nombre, the wind knows my name. This is a powerful and moving novel about immigration set in past and present. First part in Vienna in 1938, Samuel Adler is 5 years old when his father disappeared during Kristallnacht. As her child's safety becomes even harder to guarantee, Samuel's mother secures him a spot in a kindred transport train out of Nazi-occupied Austria to England. He boards alone, carrying nothing but a change of clothes and his violin. And the other part of the story is set in Arizona in 2019, 8 decades later, when Anita Diaz and her mother board another train, fleeing danger in El Salvador and seeking refuge in the United States. But their arrival coincides with the new family separation policy, and 7-year-old Anita finds herself alone in a camp in Nogales. On romance, we have a new book by Danielle Steele. She doesn't need a lot of presentation. It's an author that everybody loves and almost sold 1 billion copies already. Not much needed to be said. This is a powerful love story of 2 strong, brave women turning loss into reconnection and family reunited. We also have Buscando a Ashley, Beautiful Bastard by Christina Lauren. She's the best-selling author of The Honeymooners and Love and Other Words. For fans of series like 360 Dates and 50 Shades of Grey, is erotica romance. On thrillers, we have El Cuco de Cristal by Javier Castillo, an author that is about to reach the 2 million copies of his novels sold. He's from Spain. And after the success of La Chica de Nieve, The Snow Girl, now made into one of the most popular Netflix series around the world, and El Juego del Alma, The Soul's Game, Javier Castillo returns with his sixth novel. New York, 2017, Nora Merlo, a first-year medical resident, suffers a sudden heart attack that forced her to have a heart transplant. Still convalescing, the young woman is visited by a strange woman with an enigmatic offer to spend a few days in Steelville, a small town, to learn about the life of her son Charlotte, the donor of her heart. And just the day she arrived at this town, a baby disappears in a public park.
I'm sorry, Veronica. We have about
Mhm.
30 seconds left of your presentation. Do you have a
Okay.
few more?
Yes, I have a few more. I will just show the covers.
Okay.
There are some books on Ukraine. You have been asking a lot for books by Ukrainian and authors and about the conflict, and just on the anniversary of the beginning of the war, we have some books here.
Mhm.
The first one is fiction, and it's out of fiction actually. The author was a naturalized American citizen living in Brussels when she felt she had to go back to Ukraine and learn more about her family. And she tells us here the story of the 20th century of her country and through the history of her family. We have the Species by Zelensky that are already out in English, and is the only book fully authorized by him. And also Abejas Grises by Andrew Kurkov, which is a finalist of the National Book Critics Circle Award in translation this year. It's fiction, and it's the conflict of the Donbass narrated through the eyes of a peaceful beekeeper. And that's it. Thank you so much. I'm sorry that I take another 30 seconds.
Nothing to be sorry for. Thank you so much, Veronica. There's lots of great picks there. And Una Historia Compartida de Julia Navarro seems perfect for Women's History Month. It's gotten a lot of great reviews. Thank you so much for sharing with us. Is there any questions at this point about Veronica's presentation? I'll give it just a minute before we move on to our next presenter. I didn't see any in the chat, but just in case anybody has any, we'll give you just a second. Okay, it seems like we can move on then. Thank you so much, Veronica, one more time. If you want to stick around, or you know, you'll be here in case anybody has any questions. They can send you a chat. Otherwise, we'll put your contact information. It is all on the Reforma LA website. I'll put the link one more time in the chat, just in case you need to visit the page. So our second presenter today is Margie Samper from Lectorum Publications. Lectorum Publications is a corporate member of Reforma. For more information about this company and contact information, please visit the link that I just put in the chat, and remember to use our hashtag Reforma LA Book Fair. So slides and order sheets are on our website for you to download and take notes. And if you have any questions, please use the chat during the presentation and we'll answer them at the end. Welcome, Margie.
Thank you so much for having us. Good morning for you guys. Good afternoon for us here on the East Coast. My name is Marjorie Samper, or Margie as most people know me. I am the Collection Development Manager here at Lectorum. I am going to first begin with fiction and then move on in to nonfiction. The first three novels that I'm going to talk about are all from the same publisher, the publisher Maeba. It's a publisher in Spain. And the first book is called La Librería Café de los Gatos. And those who know me know that I love cats and books. So this is a perfect book for me. The author is actually, that's a pseudonym. If you were going to try to like Google, oh, what is this book in English? The author's name is Charlie Jonas. It's actually a German writer who uses this name. But of course, they never tell you the author's true identity. And the author decided to write this book after visiting a cat cafe in Halifax, Canada. And it is the story about a woman named Leonie who gets a knock on her door, and lo and behold, it's her neighbor that she hardly knows, who wants to take a trip and doesn't know what to do with her cat named Mimi. So she actually asked Leonie, will you please cat sit? Take my cat while I'm away. And she's so shocked. She says yes. But then she realizes, I don't know a lot about cats. So what am I going to do? Her best friend opened up a little cafe. So she's like, well, maybe I'll ask her. So she brings the cat to the cafe. The cat becomes a huge hit. And what's really neat about this book is in this cafe, they sell all kinds of yummy sweet things, and the recipes are actually in the back of the book after the novel. The next novel is Tres Plumas Blancas, which is a translation of Birds of a Feather by Jacqueline Winspear. This is the second book in the Maisie Dobbs series, and Maisie Dobbs is well, she was very young in the first book. She was a servant in a house, and she becomes a detective in England. And in the second book, which was an Agatha Award winner, she has opened up her own detective agency, and she's hired by a very rich man who wants her to help find his daughter who has disappeared. She thought it would be something very simple, just to locate a missing person, even though it is the 1930s. So I imagine it was more difficult than today, where you can track people. And the daughter's name is Charlotte. One of Charlotte's friends is found murdered. And then that changes the whole aspect of the case. She ends up working with a detective from Scotland Yard, and she has to use her intuition to try and figure out what happened. The last book from Maeva is called El Diccionario de las Palabras Olvidadas, which is a translation of the Dictionary of Lost Words by Pip Williams. This was a Reese Witherspoon book club pick, and it's actually based on true events, which is really interesting. There was a man named Sir James Murray who led a team of lexicographers who worked on what became later on the Oxford English Dictionary. And he used the help of his 11 children to help put this together. And in this novel, the protagonist in this book, Esme, finds all these little pieces of papers with words on it. And she realizes as she got older that a lot of the words that were excluded from this, what became the dictionary, were all words relating to women. So she decided to create her own dictionary of lost words. So this is a perfect novel for Women's History Month. The next two novels are thrillers, and they're from a publisher named Trini Vergara. And this first book is called Hay quienes eligen la oscuridad, which is a translation of Some Choose Darkness by Charlie Dunley. This is actually the first book that he did with the character Rory Moore. In English, he has a second one out. And in this book, Rory is on leave because her father passed away. And she cleans out his office and she finds a file from 40 years ago about a case involving a man just referred to as the thief. In 1979, 5 women disappeared in Chicago. And the police had no idea, they had no leads until they ended up getting a package from a woman named Angela Mitchell, who was obsessed with the case, did her own investigation. She sent all the information she had to the police, and then she went missing without a trace. The thief was actually convicted of her murder, even though they never did find a body. And he's about to be paroled, and he wants Rory to try and prove that Angela is still alive and that he's innocent. The next book, No Salgas de Noche, which is a translation of A Flicker in the Dark by Stacy Willingham, was her debut novel. She now has 2 books in English. And in this book, Chloe Davis is 12 years old when evidence was found pointing to her dad being the murderer of 6 children in their town. After that, her family becomes a pariah. Their targets of vandalism, bullying. Her family falls apart, and she ends up addicted. 20 years later, she's like, I'm starting my life all over again. She's planning her wedding. Everything is going smoothly until 2 teen girls are found murdered in the same way that her father was accused. And they were girls that she knew. So now that she thought that the past that she had so neatly buried away is coming back to haunt her. The next novels, the next 3 that I'm going to talk about is from a Spanish publisher called Libros de Seda. The first book is El Silencio de las Flores by an author named Judith Fernandez. This is the author's second novel, and it's set in England in 1863. And Aidan is a man who is a widow, and he cannot get over his wife's death. Now, years later, his father is about to pass away, and if he doesn't remarry, he will not get his inheritance. At the same time, there's a woman named Eleanor who moves to where he lives from York. She's from a very rich family, but she's not interested in getting married. She doesn't care about all the trappings of wealth. She'd rather deal with plants. She likes nature. And this is basically a romance, you know, that asks the question, could 2 such different people actually fall in love? The next book, La Falsa Sirvienta, which is a translation of A Proper Charade by Esther Hatch, has a very interesting premise. A woman named Lady Patience Kendrick has always lived a life of luxury. Her older brother says that she's a snob, and she wants to prove him wrong in a really drastic way. She decides she's going to dress like a servant and work as one. She goes and works in this very wealthy family's house, but the only problem is, of course, in most romances, is the charming son of her employers makes it really difficult for her to sort of stay in character. She does not want to give up because she really wants to stick it to her brother, but it turns out to be not as easy as she thought. The last book from Libros de Seda is called Los Vecinos de Lady Chester, which is a translation of a book called The Semi-Detached House by an author named Emily Eden. This book was actually written in the 1850s, and Blanche is a woman who's also known as Lady Chester. She's horrified to discover that her new neighbors are from a much lower social class than she is. After, you know, sort of snubbing them and some resistance, she develops a friendship with the lady and her 2 daughters, and it sort of shows you what life was like in Victorian England, especially with the whole class structure. Now, moving on to nonfiction, the first book is La Adolescencia se Termina by Dr. Antonio Rios. And I don't know how many people there have teenagers, but mine is 2 years removed from the teen years, and I can tell you I could have used this book before. The writer is a specialist in family therapy. And what I like about this book is it really is written for parents in a way that you can understand, because we all sort of fall into the trap where you begin to tell your kids, well, when I was your age, this, and this. And that's one of the things he tells you, please don't do. And this book teaches parents that, you know, the change that your angelic children before they turn about 11 or 12, it's normal. They are, you know, just as confused as the parents become. They, you know, even if you feel disoriented, helpless, hopeless, this book is great because even if you just were to pick it up and leaf through it, his key points and key advice are in bold, and it really does let you know that you're not alone. And I've seen some parenting books that can be a little preachy, but this one really, I really recommend for anyone going through the teen years. And of course, a perfect segue into the next book that if you do have a teen, you do probably need this book, Técnicas para dormir mejor by Carmen Fernandez. This book deals with what we hear a lot about these days, circadian rhythms. It talks about what can affect sleep, including things as, there can be too much screen time for adults, not just children. It can also be things like apnea, stress. And this book encourages adults to develop a bedtime routine, sort of like we do for our kids. And eventually, you'll lose what is keeping you up at night. And good night's sleep is really key to perfect health. Another health book, again, perfect for Women's History Month. It's called En qué somos diferentes las mujeres. It's by Marciano, oh my goodness, I call her Marciano. Yeah, Marciano Lopez. And this is a book talking about, as women age, we have different nutritional needs. This talks about what should be eaten at different points. And it also addresses certain conditions that women can develop as they get older. And what I like about this book is, women's nutritional needs are different than men. And this scans from young until much older, and it's written by a nutritionist. So it really is, it's highly recommended for women of all ages. The next book is called Cómo sobrevivir el caos mental. It's by an author named Inés Lemel. This is an author who is a psychologist who specializes in addiction. And what she says is the way we react, like our moods, are a product of the way that we think. And she has created exercises that teach readers how to embrace change, accept what comes your way, and to truly understand your emotions, both positive and negative. And she says, if you don't have this sort of type of introspection, you could begin to suffer from mental chaos. This is in a way to organize, I guess, your brain to not to sort of work against you, to work with you. If you really want peace of mind, then her exercises are for you. And then lastly, though I know I'm probably not using all my time, but I saved a book that hardly needs any introduction. It's Matthew Perry's autobiography, Amigos Amantes y Aquello Tan Terrible. And I know when everyone takes a look at this book, they immediately say, oh, that's Chandler from Friends. Well, what's interesting that he reveals in this book is he almost didn't audition for Friends because he was tagged to work in a different series, but that series never got off the ground. So he was actually able to audition. And he is completely honest about his life in this book, not just his career and the women that he's gone out with, but he even says he started drinking when he was 14. He then goes on to say that his colon burst from an excessive use of opioids, and he was in the hospital and almost died. So I've never really seen, someone in Hollywood so open and honest, but I do think his book could help people. Not just, you don't just have to be a fan of Friends, but if you're going through any kind of addiction, this book shows you that, he got through it. He's honest, he's self-deprecating. And so really, I recommend this book because it's so much more than just a book about a TV show. And that's all I got.
Thank you so much, Margie. That was great. A lot of wonderful, interesting titles to consider. Does anyone have any questions really quickly? I don't see anything in the chat, but also wanted to give some time to for the audience to ask any questions. Give it a moment here. Okay. All right, I don't see any, so I'm going to go ahead and move on. Our third presenter is Jenny Lizárraga from Cinco Books. Cinco Books is a corporate member of Reforma. For more information about this company and contact information, please visit reformala.org/bookfair. Bookfair has a hyphen. There you go. Thank you so much, Sheridan. The link is in the chat. And remember to use our hashtag ReformaLA Book Fair. All right, so you can add your questions to the comment box during the presentation and they will be answered at the end as well. And without further ado, welcome Jenny.
Hola, hello everyone. Thank you for the time today and for the opportunity. Before I share my screen, I want to take some time to show you the books. Even though if I don't share the screen, you know, the PowerPoint is going to be here in the Reforma LA link in the website and also here in the chat and the order form as well. But I like to do this and show you the book so that way you can see the format and a little bit more. And I like to do this like a conversation that we are having. And so I'm going to start with Grandes de lo Macabro. It's a graphic novel. Most of the books that I have today for the adult audience are going to be graphic novels. Some of them are originally written in Spanish and a few are translations. And I am going to let you know every time. The first one that I have here is Grandes de lo Macabro. As you can see, it's a hard book. One is in black and white, all the illustrations. The author is Joan Boix. He's from Spain. He's an illustrator that has been inspired by the great authors, the classic authors of the horror, like Becker, Kafka, Lovecraft, Edgar Allan Poe. And this graphic novel is a compilation of short stories. Am I still in the video? Yes, I am. This is short stories by all of these great authors that he decided to do like a comic, illustrated and adapted, and of course in Spanish. And as you know, many of these authors that I just mentioned were English authors or American authors, and they wrote in English. So these are, of course, translations, but this book is original in Spanish. It has not been published in English just yet. So this is my first pick for today. Then I'm going to go to the second one, Lugosi. And probably everyone that is like 40 or at least 35 will remember El Conde Dracula, or, you know, the actor that made El Conde Dracula or Dracula, the image, the horror image that we have. I clearly remember that. That was one of the first movies that my evil cousins take me to see, and it was horrible. But now that I am adult, I can, you know, appreciate that he was a great author and everything. So this book is his biography, is everything about him, his life as an immigrant. He was from Hungary. He came to the United States, became an actor for theater and for Hollywood. He became very famous, and also he had some, like, many struggles in his life. And I think for the people, you know, who has followed a little bit of Lugosi knows that he had a lot of struggles with addiction, with drugs, with you know, abuse of substances and all that. And this is like humanizing the actor, like talking about the human part, that nowadays we have a lot of also celebrities that are suffering from the same thing. So this is a good way to get close to it without being fantastic or being too exaggerated, but also in a way that is going to do a good representation of the life of a great actor for Hollywood. So Lugosi is my other choice. Then someone that I am sure all of you know very well, Tolkien. This is also a biography. I don't know if you guys know that Tolkien got inspiration for his story, El Señor de los Anillos, The Lord of the Rings, for for all the memories that he got when he served in the army. And this book is illustrated, full color graphic novel, tells all the story before he was the great author that we know that he became. So all, the episodes in his life that inspire the way for him to become a great writer. Tolkien. This is a translation, by the way, from English. Then I'm gonna go a little bit on the, let's say a little bit of fiction, nonfiction, kind of ovnis. We all, have heard from our countries, or if we are from the States or from any other country, we have known stories about ovnis and UFOs. So this is like a compilation from myths and things that have happened in the world. It's not only from the United States or Russia or the countries that have been exploring the space more than other countries. This is also about stories that happen in Venezuela, in Bolivia, in Argentina, and other countries that the population knows but cannot explain. So in many times, the government of the United States especially goes further on those things that people is claiming that are UFOs or ovnis, and they have done like kind of research, but it has not been always public. So this book is a little compilation of the files that are now public, but not everybody knows about that. And the book is divided like in decades, like this is los años 80, things that happen in the 80s and how it has been changing with technology, of course, because the more technology that we get, the more that we know and can explain these, phenomena. It's illustrated, as you can see. We recommend it for a young adult audience, but I'm sure that many people that is interested in, from the adult audience will be interested in this type of books as well, because let's face it, ovnis and things that we cannot explain, it's always interesting. Now, always staying in the side of the graphic novels, I have something based on real events that happened in 2013 in El Cairo, in Egypt, Justicia y Dignidad. This is a graphic novel about a lot of riots and protesting events and things that have been happening since 2013 in Egypt to reclaim and instate rights for women in Egypt. As you can imagine, this has been like really hard, and maybe we here in the States don't have that many information about it. This book has been published in Spain, Justicia y Dignidad, and it gives a little bit of perspective about all the things that women are facing over there. As you know, Egypt is a country mostly Muslim, but there are also like a lot of sections in the country, a lot of regions with Christian people. So there is that fight between the religion, the beliefs, the traditions, and also women wanting to have rights regardless of the religion that they are practicing. So I think this is, very educational for all of us. So, someone has a question or something? No? Okay. So Justicia y Dignidad. Then my next graphic novel, Esperaré siempre tu regreso, original in Spanish, and this is testimonies about the war and how the Holocaust took so many lives, and how this the story is based on the testimony of one of the survivors, and he was an Spanish citizen, but he went to one of the concentration camps and survived. And after, many years later, he was inspired to write the story. And this is a graphic novel based on his testimony. It's in color. Esperaré siempre tu regreso. The title reclaims the memories that the survivor has waiting for his, his relatives. He wanted his relatives to survive, but many people never knew what even happened to them because there was nothing left, not even a record or anything. Even though we know, like a number, like 4 million people died, but we know that it was more than that. Now living a little bit, going into the feminism and women empowerment. We are in March. This is the month dedicated. This is the month dedicated for women rights and the movements to enhance our rights and all the, empowerment. Las Mujeres Fuertes Hablan de Sexo by Adriana Fuentes. She's a Mexican writer. She was here last weekend, actually, in Miami. She's doing a tour presenting this book. This is her 4th book. She lives in Mexico City, and she was inspired to write about women in business, women in the family, and now Las Mujeres Fuertes Hablan de Sexo because she faced a lot of discrimination in the work environment. She comes from the corporate world, working as an executive for Mercedes-Benz and, a car company. And this happened recently. I mean, it was less than 10 years ago. And she was explaining during her presentation how she was always questioned, like her decisions were always questioned more than her male counterparts, and how she had to be more prepared, how she needed to have always a right answer to convince them to do the plans that she wanted to do. So this is one of the books that is giving us a reflection on, in the subject of sex, how we are sometimes ashamed, or it's like a taboo, or we don't want to talk about it. And this also touches more like the health topic for us, like mental health, and also our physical health, like how we sometimes don't say how we really feel with our partner, with our friends or with our family, because we are ashamed of it. So this is a little bit to throw away the taboo of talking about sex. Las Mujeres Fuertes Hablan de Sexo. The publishing house is based in California, Caliente Press. And more in literature, I have here a classic of literatura Centroamericana. This is Cipotes. This is a book from Honduras. Ramón Amaya Amador is one of the biggest exponents of literature in Honduras and Central America. And we don't have that many publications from Honduras. So I am really happy to show you this and present it. We are adopting this as one of the books for our book club here in Miami. But I want to introduce it as well to the libraries, to the public libraries, because I know here in the States, we don't have that many stories about Honduras. We know about Honduras, like it's one of the 3 countries in the Northern Triangle, that immigrants are coming from Guatemala, El Salvador, and Honduras, and are crossing the border. We know a lot of that, but we don't know their story, why they are coming, when it all starts. Cipotes is based in real experiences of homeless children. And I am from Honduras. I was born and raised in Honduras. And I can tell you, this is one of the books that we still read over there in high school. And it tells the story of more than like 80% of the people in Honduras is poor, like poor, super poor. And that they don't have access to telephone, they don't have access to water, and they have to see how, make a life every day. And this is the story of children who are very poor. They have to work every day selling newspapers, like cleaning shoes or doing whatever to bring some food to their house. And I think it's a good way for us to take a look to some other stories that we see the people here. My mother, this is a little bit of kind of a commercial, a personal commercial. My mom came here like 3 years ago to live with me, and she has been living in Honduras, of course. And when I told her, Mom, more than 150,000 children, like migrant children that are coming in the border are from Honduras. And she told me, but you know what? She told me this, and I was like, wow, this is how most people is seeing this. She told me, you know what, once they get here, even if they don't have papers, they are better here than they are over there. And I know not everybody is aware of that. So I think these stories can humanize a little bit that experience. Cipotes. And cipotes means like kids, like teenagers. Then more local literature, Vacaciones sin Hotel. This book has been awarded with the Florida Book Award. It's an anthology. Yeah, thank you. You know, Reforma is for me like family, so I'm happy and I feel comfortable sharing with you guys some personal details about my own life, something that I don't do that much, but I feel secure doing that here. But going on, Vacaciones sin Hotel is from here from Florida. It's a compilation of stories written all in Spanish. And the authors all live here in the United States and are all migrants, writers, marketing, publicists, teachers that are trying, you know, to rebuild their lives and to become someone here in the States. So Vacaciones sin Hotel is also a compilation of short stories, and I invite you to take a look to that. And I'm going back to the graphic novels. El Fuego Nunca Se Apaga by Noelle Stevenson, and probably some of you know this book in English. It's a translation from English. Noelle Stevenson is telling in the story all her experience. It's like a diary style, and she's telling all her experience, like coming out of the closet and changing her gender. All the process that she had to endure. And now, well, I'm saying she, but I think now it's he. So I'm sorry for that. So Noelle is telling, you know, how she was telling her friends, her community, her family, the people who support her, and also the people who didn't support her. And because that's a reality. Sometimes we want to say, you know, my family was great and everything, but we don't talk that much about the people close to us that we thought will be with us, but they didn't. And I think it's important that he is sharing it, because everybody face that at some point when we want to do something different. It doesn't have to be about changing your gender, but everyone is facing that at some point in their life. If you want to move somewhere else, if you want to change your career, there will be people that you wanted you to support you and they didn't. So finding stories similar to yours make us feel less alone. So El Fuego Nunca Se Apaga. And a big one here, speaking about teenagers, Aspirina. This is a graphic novel in color, and it's about this teenager. She's finding out that she's a vampire. And it's like a parody between the, you know, the vampire thing topic and becoming a teenager, having changes in the things that you want to do and you like to do, and how you face things that you are discovering about yourself as well. So it's fictional, but with humor, a lot of dark humor, talking about the changes that we have when we are growing up. Aspirina. And one of the classics that I want to show you today, Gato en el Camino by Nicanor Parra. Of course, this is a classic now. This is like more poems with illustrations about Nicanor Parra. This book is original in Spanish as well. And it's different because it has a lot of illustrations, and the book is very well read with the illustrations. But if you don't, you know, take the time to interpret the illustrations, might as well you will not enjoy the whole experience of the book. So this one is a recommendation for those who like poetry, who want to understand poetry in Spanish, and it's for people fluent in Spanish, not learning the language, because it's a little bit, you know, Nicanor Parra is not that easy to read. 1 minute. Okay, I have 3 more. Here we go. Caperucita Roja by Gabriel Pacheco. This is a wordless book. It's based on Primero Sueño by Sor Juana Inés de la Cruz. Of course, it's the classic of Caperucita Roja. Let me go a little bit back. And it's the classic, but at the same time it's different because it's exploring from more psychological perspective. It's more about when we surrender our fears. And as you can see, the wolf is like very scary in the illustrations. And he represents those fears that we have, that we face, that sometimes we are not able to explore. Or if we explore, it's like, you remember that they say if you look into the abyss is looking back at you. It's like you become what you don't want to be if you are too concentrated in that. So Caperucita Roja in this case is related to that idea, like exploring those fears, because you know the classical literature of Caperucita Roja is a book about abuse, about a little girl that is abused. It's about rape, and you know, when we have the children book edition, it's not about that, but the classic, the original piece was about that. And this one is more for collectors, for people that likes art. Then I'm just gonna show you the cover of the other 3 books. Fahrenheit 451, illustrated in some parts, but it's more, you know, like the classic Fahrenheit, now that we have some book banning, especially here in Florida, which sucks. So we want to promote that one. And Romeo y Julieta by William Shakespeare, a classic as always. And this is like very fiel to the original Romeo y Julieta. And the last one, the very last one, Peter Pan. In a hardcover edition, illustrated and in full color. And I am done. If anyone has any questions.
Muchas gracias, Jenny. Thank you so much for showing us all those amazing titles. I think graphic novels are a big opportunity for us as librarians, as educators, especially if we are serving, you know, members of our community that are Spanish speakers that perhaps came over without much schooling in their home countries and could use illustrations to scaffold as they read. So thank you so much, Jenny, one more time. Any questions in the chat? I'm going to give it just a second there. And if not, we're going to move on right to our next presenter. Okay. Okay, I think we'll move on. If any of you wants to see the slides, be sure to visit our website, which is Reforma LA Book Fair. So our last presenter today is Mariela Diaz from Spanish Publishers. Spanish Publishers is a corporate member of Reforma. For more information about this company and contact information, please visit the link that I am going to put in the chat just now. And if you want to post on social media about any of our events today or in the future, use the hashtag Reforma LA Book Fair hashtag. Feel free to add your questions or comments to the chat during the presentation, and they will be answered at the end. And without further ado, welcome, Mariela. Okay, let me see. Maybe Mariela is having a little bit of trouble. Okay. Mariela, are you with us?
Yes, I am here.
Perfect.
Good afternoon. I can't see. Can you see me?
We can see your screen, but not you.
That's okay. So good afternoon. It's my pleasure to say hello again. Thanks to Patty, Sheridan, Luisa, Edwin for this opportunity. My name is Mariela Diaz, and I am the sales manager for Spanish Publishers, the company that has the exclusive distribution of books in Spanish from 28 publishers. 26 of them are from Spain, 2 are from Mexico. Most of our books are translations of English titles. And of course, we do have authentic Spanish titles too. We are presenting 100 to 120 new releases per month, and most of them are translations of trending US bestsellers. Our database includes more than 6,000 titles. Having said all this, I will now begin my presentation.
Mariela, I just got a message. Try one more time turning your camera on. It should work now before we move on. Perfecto. Okay.
Okay. Go to the next one, please. Okay, El Regreso de Carrie Soto. Carrie Soto is back. It's a #1 New York Times bestseller, one of the best books of the year. Time, NPR, Pop Sugar, Reader's Digest, Amazon bestseller rank is number 11 in family saga fiction and number 15 in women's domestic life fiction. It's also number 45 in literary fiction. Carrie Soto is fierce and determined to win at any cost. By the time she retires from tennis, she's the best player, has shattered every record and claimed 20 Grand Slam titles. But 6 years after her retirement, Carrie finds herself sitting in stands of the 1994 US Open, watching her record be taken from her by a brutal, stunning player named Nikki Cham. This one is the general fiction. The next one, La Chica del Tiempo, Weather Girl. It's a contemporary romance, best romance book for Amazon, Apple Books, Goodreads, most anticipated books of 2022 for BuzzFeed, Pop Sugar, Parade, The Nerd Daily, and Fan Girlish. Ari Abrahams has always been fascinated by the weather, and she loves almost everything about her job as a TV meteorologist. His boss, legendary Seattle weatherwoman Torrance Hale, is too distracted by her tempestuous relationship with her ex-husband, the station news director, to give Ari the mentorship she wants. Ari, who runs on sunshine and optimism, is at her wit's end. Next one, please. This one is a biography and memoirs book, Entre Dos Reinos, Between Two Kingdoms. Amazon bestseller rank is number 10 in Sociology of Death, number 17 in medical professional biographies, one of the best books of the year, the New York Times Book Review, the Washington Post, Bloomberg, the Rumpus, She Reads, Library Journal, and Book List. 22, Zuleika Jowett had her whole life ahead of her until cancer cut it short. Sometime later, she became unknown in the United States. She became known in the United States for her column in the New York Times entitled Life Interrupt, in which she narrated in real time the shocking experience of her disease, an aggressive leukemia with a survival rate of 35% and resistance to treatment. Next. La Fuerza de la Vida, Life Force by Tony Robbins, which is a health and fitness book. Instant #1 New York Times bestseller, Amazon bestseller rank, number 16 in longevity. Medicine based on treated symptoms belongs to the past. Today, biology joins technology to offer therapies that reverse the original disease, lengthen life, and allow us to make the most of our most powerful resource, the body's own vital force. Tony Robbins, motivational speaker and personal training icon, dedicates his new book to these amazing forms of prevention and treatment. Next. El Poder de la Integridad, The Way of Integrity. It's a personal growth book. Oprah's Book Club pick, an instant New York Times bestseller. In The Way of Integrity, Beck presents a 4-stage process that anyone can use to find integrity, and with it, a sense of purpose, emotional healing, and a life free of mental suffering. Next one, please. I'm coming with a comics and graphic novel, Kuma Kuma Beer #2. We do have #1 also. It's a fun manga book to enjoy reading, such as cute and adorable characters and a great story. If you like Isekia stories, give this one a try. You might just realize that you love beers. The beer necessities after getting transported to a fantasy world, Yuna has started to find her groove. She's making new friends and even has 2 adorable beer summers to keep her company. But if she's going to continue to level up, she needs to set up a base of operation. In this stage world, can Yuna find a place to call home? Next. I'm coming with another graphic novels. Nos arreglaremos más o menos. The 2 gets by tomorrow, 2, more or less. An entertaining love story in manga by the Japanese author Susuyuki, who is famous on the digital environment and well known in digital magazines. After dating for a year and 3 months, the unruffled Yuga Aida asks his beautiful girlfriend Rio Aihara to move in with him. Despite busy work schedules and their age difference, their love for each other never wavers. Next. This one is a health and fitness book, Todo sobre la regla, all about period. Annie Rowe and Mademoiselle Caroline conceived this book as a practical, accessible, and lively travel companion to help you serenely approach an important stage of adolescence. Next. This one is a metaphysical book, Vida después de la muerte, Life after death, excessive grieving by survivors. She warns can make it harder for the deceased to make a clean break and accept death as rebirth into life of the spirit. World famous physicist Mary T. Brown had her first paranormal experience at age 7. During the next 30 years, her visions and communications with the other world have helped her understand death and mysterious, and also make a true life philosophy. A thin veil separates the physical from the spiritual world, but most humans don't have the sense to see beyond that veil. Next. This one is a personal growth, El secreto para atraer dinero, The Secret to Attract Money by Joe Vitale, very well-known author. This is a splendid book. It's a very interesting work from Joe Vitale since The Secret. It touches so many personal areas that it feels like a coaching sessions. This book makes a perfect gift. Dr. Joe Vitale, best-selling author and co-star of The Secret, shows you how to attract money easily and effortlessly by harnessing and the amazing power of the law of attraction. The potential to attract money and create abundant wealth does not lie in your job, your personal circumstances, and not even in your economy. Next. This one is a psychology book, El Poder de los Introvertidos, The Powerful Purpose of Introverts. Fall 2020 nominee for the Next Big Idea Club. Wall Street Journal best-selling author with over 500,000 copies sold, releases a powerful new book about introverts. Half the population is introverted, but most people don't understand what it means to be one. In this book, Holly Gerth explains what you need to know from the neuroscience to psychological, relational, and spiritual aspects of being an introvert. She also reveals exactly what can help you overcome inner conflicts and maximize your strengths to live with transparency. Next. This one is a business and economics book, Tus próximas 5 jugadas, Your Next 5 Moves, and an instant international bestseller, #1 Wall Street Journal bestseller. Amazon bestseller rank is #1 in strategic business planning and #3 in systems and planning, #4 in entrepreneurship. This revised and expanded 3rd edition of the best-selling guide to understanding borderline personality disorders with advice for communicating with helping the borderline individuals in your life. Next. Inteligencia Financiera, Financial Intelligence by Karen Berman and Joe Knight. Amazon bestseller rank #1 in managerial accounting, #6 in business writing skills. Financial intelligence is an essential reading for anyone wanting to get the most out of their dollar investment. A great book to promote financial literacy and with questions and accounting literacy, accessible and filled with entertaining stories of real companies. Financial intelligence gives non-financial managers the confidence to understand the news beyond the numbers to help bring everyday work to a new level. Next. This one is a health and fitness book. SOP, Síndrome de Ovarios Poliquísticos, the PCOS Plan, by Jason Fung. Amazon bestseller rank #30 in endocrine system disease, #34 infertility, a book with important information and easy to read, totally worth reading. New York Times bestselling author Dr. Jason Fung joins forces with naturopathic Dr. Nadia Pataguana to offer methods to prevent and reverse PCOS through a diet and intermittent fasting. Polycystic ovary syndrome is the most common reproductive disorder in the world. Next. Metaphysical and esoteric book, Magia Práctica, Practical Magic. Amazon bestseller rank #52 and Divination with Crystals. This is a fun read even if you are not planning to practice magic. Practical Magic is a charming introduction to the wonders of modern magic and mysticism, from crystals and astrology to chakras, dream interpretation, and of course, a few spells, focusing on 3 primary areas: healing, magic, and fortune telling. Next one, please. Another metaphysical and esoteric book, El Amor de tu Alma, Your Soul's Love by Robert Schwartz, very well-known author, Amazon bestseller in 3 categories. Amazon bestseller rank #53 in reincarnation, #57 in spiritual channeling. The author explores the pre-birth planning of challenges related to romantic relationships, working again with several gifted mediums and channels, and this time incorporating the between life soul regressions. He does a skilled hypnotist. Schwartz brings great wisdom and love from the other side to explain why we plan such experiences before we are born. Next. This one is a psychology book, Ser Excepcional, Be Exceptional, Master the 5 Traits that set extraordinary people apart. This one is by Joe Navarro, he's a Cuban author, very well known. Joe, retired FBA agent, international best-selling author, which has been translated into 29 languages, has been acclaimed by the Wall Street Journal as one of the 6 best business authors to read. A masterclass in leadership from the world's top body language expert, from internationally best-selling author and retired FBI agent Joe Navarro, a look at the 5 powerful principles that set exceptional individuals apart. Joe Navarro spent a quarter-century with the FBI, pursuing spies and other dangerous criminals across the globe. Now he shares his hard-earned lessons in this new book on leadership. Next. A personal growth book, La Ciencia de Hacerte Rico y Otras Obras by Wallace Watless, The Science of Getting Rich and Other Works. Amazon bestseller rank #75 in wealth management, one of the best books of mind power, thinking and developing mind to get rich. There's a science to getting rich, and it's like algebra or mathematics. Once learned and followed, any man can become rich. The most famous get rich quick scheme would reveal how to achieve wealth and prosperity using the system used by hundreds of American billionaires. Next. 15 miradas a la felicidad, 15 looks to happiness. This book is a personal growth. There's 15 authors in this book. They all live in Miami. Most of them are coming from Venezuela. Highly recommended for the simple way of experiencing and the different visions of happiness and the ways to achieve it. A very good work by its 15 authors. This inspiring work proposes diverse and simple reflections to rethink the notion of happiness based on concepts such as construction, strengthening, failing in love, emotion, adversity, pleasure, perplexity, individuality, cinematography, philosophy, accumulation of events, maturity, and process. The text includes the following. Is it possible to build happiness? Next. This is a reference book, Macrame. Macrame is the same way as a practice of mindfulness. So widespread in recent years teaches our brain to get out of survival mode to enter wellness mode. This book introduces us to exciting world of the knotting techniques, macrame. Julie Flores is the founder of a community of more than 500,000 creative people who have learned macrame with her technique and charisma. Throughout these pages, Julie will take you by the hand to become a master of this art that transforms life. Next. The next book is a personal growth book, Entre Amigos, Between Friends, from Carlos Cuauhtemoc Sanchez, very well-known Mexican author. This book offers intellectual training. It's a quick and entertaining read. The stories are short, but very uplifting, about helping the family, parenting, or personal growth. A book great for a gift. Between Friends, it's an intimate dialogue about family, friendship, love, fears, and the meaning of life. It's a diary break so that the routine does not take us away from what really matters. It's a very special gift, a pat on the shoulder, timely advice for you, for your closets, family, and friends. It contains powerful ideas that will help you be the best version of yourself. Next. This book is a Mind, Body, and Spirit. El Observador en la Bio-Neuroemoción, The Observer on Neuroemotion, by Enrique Corbera, which is another very well-known author from Spain. An extraordinary book, a must-read to understand how we are responsible for each thought, emotions, and feelings. This work is an inspiring observation of reality. Human beings are entering a new awareness. Our mind is opening up to search in which it allows interaction between different aspects of science and psychology. Next. This book is a religion and spirituality book, Reflexiones Diarias del Dr. Hawkins, another very well-known author, Dr. David Hawkins. Amazon bestseller rank is number 91 in chakras, a collection of 365 insightful quotes to guide readers on a path of enlightenment. This is a series of daily reflections, one for every day of the year, on a spirituality and the spirit path. They help concentrate the attention during the day on a relevant subject.
Disculpa, Mariela, we're running out of time. Do you want to give us one more?
Well, I have this one, which is a very important book. I think it's one of the top books in my presentation, by Jaime Bailey, Los Genios. And this book is about the lives of Garcia Marquez and Vargas Llosa. Two literary geniuses coexist in Barcelona of the 60s. They see each other almost daily. They write about each other, share friendship, party nights, conversations about books and writing, and above all, the brilliant start of their literary careers, which under the leadership of who will become one of the most powerful literary agents in the world. The next one will be La Cocina de la Reina. It's a cooking book, recipes for royals. Immerse yourself in the intrigue, history, and splendor of the crown with foods inspired by the show and the real life royals themselves. It's inspiring Netflix award-winning hit The Crown. Amazon bestseller rank is number 62 in brunch and tea cooking and 64 in English, Scottish, Welsh cooking wine. Next one, Mind, Body, and Spirit, Psicoanálisis y Espiritualidad. This book becomes a pleasant and serene journey through approaches that can help clarify the vital meaning of activities. A delight to read, tremendously inspiring. Next one, Personal Growth, Revoluciona tu vida, revolutionize your life. There is nothing more liberating than regaining our innate power. I have conceived this book as a practical instrument of self-inquiry that allows you to reinvent yourself. In other words, revolutionize your life. If your life changes, we change the world. Are you ready for the journey? And Vuela, the next. Personal Growth, Do Fly. Do Fly is a thoroughly refreshing take on what real leadership is all about. It's a short book, to the point and not to be missed. Let's have the next one. And I have one more. Present Chronicles, Bienvenido Metaverso, Welcome Metaverse. It's a fascinating approach to the questioned idea of presence formulated from serene but militant humanism. The use of technologies has been normalized to the point of ensuring a digital life based on multiple and permanent connection. However, it supposes certain unknowns about the face-to-face and the virtual, the technical and social conditions, and the economic, political, and psychological consequences of technological advances. And the last one, which is a Present Chronicles book, Los Siete Duelos de la Inmigración y la Interculturalidad, Professor Joseba Chotegui from Spain. He is a professor in Berkeley University. This book is part of the series aimed at improving the quality of life and promoting balance between people and their social environment. A highly recommended read. And saying all this, I think I'm done. Thank you for the opportunity. All these books are perfect to have in your shelves. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mariela, for all those titles that they look great. Especially that last one seems, as we get further and further into people migrating, refugeeism, all that stuff seems like it's a timely book to have on our shelves. Are there any questions? Oh, it looks like we have one from Kenny. And it says, hi, Mariela, thank you for your presentation. If my library is interested in buying books from publishers you work with, would we correspond with the publisher directly, or would we contact Spanish publishers and you would be the intermediary?
I can be the intermediate, but you should buy the books through your preferred distributor. But I can, of course, I can advise in the collection, with the collection.
Any other questions in the chat? We'll give it a minute just in case. Okay, so in case there's no more questions, that pretty much wraps up our book fair for Spanish language materials for adults. Thank you to all the presenters from Lectorum Publications, Penguin Random House, Grupo Editorial, Cinco Books, and Spanish publishers. As a reminder, Reforma LA Book Fair attendees will have the opportunity to win one of 2 Spanish book bundles for their collection valued at $150. The winners will be selected at random on March 16th. And to enter the raffle, you want to click on the link that I'm going to put in the chat. Oh, Patty beat me to it. There we go. Click on that link, enter the raffle. We'll announce the winners on March 16th, and then you can select the books working with Jenny from Cinco Books. So this was the first event of the Reforma LA Spanish Book Fair for 2023. Visit our website, the Book Fair blog page to register for future events. To stay up to date on Reforma activities, follow us on social media. We'll put the links in the chat right now. We have Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter where we announce all of our events and anything that's going on with our chapter. And then please join us this Thursday, March 9th, where Make Digital Library, Lectorum Publications, Spanish Publishers, Candlewick Press, Lil Libros, Penguin Random House, and Vista Higher Learning will highlight their new Spanish titles for children and young adults. We're going to have another Children and Young Adults Book Fair on Thursday, March 16th. So thank you all so much for joining us today, and we'll see you this Thursday and next Thursday. Hasta la próxima. Nos vemos. See you later.
Gracias.